Have you ever felt like you wasn't good enough or felt like you didn't deserve love? In this video, I will share with you guys how I started loving myself, accepting myself, and how I stopped self-hatred. Peace, family, peace, 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 peace. I hope you guys are having such an amazing, lovely, phenomenal night, day, wherever you are. If you are new to my channel, my name is Dina Bryant. I do inspiration videos, some vegan cooking, and some shopping. Today's video is how to start loving yourself and stop self-hatred. So when I was growing up, some of you guys have heard my story. If not, I'm just going to touch on it briefly. When I was growing up, okay, there wasn't a whole bunch of people that looked like me that I would often hear, self-love or anything like that. Even people that didn't look like me, okay? Because I was in a group home, when I was younger, okay? And it was white kids in here. But I didn't hear self love, right? Oftentimes we think of self love as, oh, I'm going to get my hair done, or I'm going to get my nails done, or I'm taking myself to eat out to eat, right? But to me, self love is really owning in with your shadow side, okay? The part of you that you perhaps probably don't want people to know, okay? That part of you that you like to tuck away. But on my journey, what happened to me was this. I started seeing that if I wanted love, the only one that was going to be able to give me that love was me. And the reason how I came to that conclusion was all the relationships that I was getting into. Oftentimes I would try to change the person. I wanted them to be what I wanted them to be. And oftentimes they could not live up to those high standards that I had for them. And the truth of the matter is I wasn't even living up to those standards. Okay. And I remember when I was in a relationship, I started reading this book called Mastery of Love. Okay. And in this book, it talked about people cannot give you what they do not have. And whatever it is that you desire to have, you have to give yourself that. And I think a lot of this stems from childhood, right? Um, we often hear if you want somebody to love you, you have to do X, Y, and Z, and I never heard no one say, well, you gotta love yourself. In fact, I told you guys, I had a good friend of mine who had told me, because the relationships that I was getting in, because not for nothing, I thought self-love was what most people think, right? Like, oh, I get dressed up, I buy some nice shoes and perfume and I dress good, that's really self-love. But what I seen was the relationships that I was getting into, which was a reflection of myself, by the way. It didn't feel like love, okay? It felt like codependency. It didn't feel like I accepted someone just for who they are. And the reason being was because I didn't accept myself. In order for you to stop self-hatred, one of the things that I do, and you may not want to do this, I don't know, but one of the things that I do is I get in the mirror, okay? And I told you guys this before. I affirm myself, okay? I talk to myself. I tell myself how beautiful I am, how kind, how loving, how confident I am, smart, brilliant. And that is one of the ways to stop the self-hatred, because oftentimes you may have been taught and conditioned to pick away at yourself. What I mean by that is this. when you look at yourself, you start talking about yourself in a way that is absolutely self-hatred. Like you would say, you know, you don't like your lips, or you don't like your eyes, or you don't like your face, or your skin color. And if you feel that way about yourself, my love, then guess what is going to show up in your life? It's going to be other people that's going to reflect that inside dialogue that you tend to have with yourself when nobody else is around. See, one of the things that we have to understand is oftentimes we are catfishing, so to speak. You know, we act in a certain type of way, right? You, at times, you want to act like you are the most confident person, the most, you know, loving, self-loving person. But oftentimes, you can always see exactly how someone feel about themselves based upon what they accept and what they tolerate. Okay, what you tend to keep on putting up with, right? And so what I started understanding, even when it came down to my hair, right? I remember it was once upon a time I did not want to wear my natural hair. And looking back on it, you know, I can really say I was so immature. I felt like if I wore my natural hair, I was not pretty. Like I felt like if I wore extensions, weave, right, that made me pretty. If I wore makeup, that made me pretty. Okay. Until I really start understanding, no matter how I added on, put all these different add-ons outside myself, you know, on me, I still felt like I wasn't good enough. I still felt like I was attracting people who was reflecting back to me exactly how I felt about myself. And so I I still felt like I wasn't good enough. And I remember I was in this relationship. I was pregnant with my youngest daughter. And shout out to their father because you know, he taught me a lot. All right, he was younger than me, but he's definitely taught me a lot. And I remember he would always say to me, like, why you always gotta do that, right? Like, why you always gotta put all the makeup on? Why you always gotta do, you know, all these different things? Like, you know, why you gotta do that? And I would just be like, cause I wanna do it, right? But I remember when I was pregnant, matter of fact, with our first child, because we have two children together. By the way, I have four children, okay? But I remember I was pregnant with my youngest son. And one of the things he said to me, he said, why? He said, I don't want you to dye your hair or perm your hair because I don't want our child. Now, at the time, we didn't know what I was having, but he said, I don't want our child to feel like they're not pretty or they need a relaxer or they need, you know, all these different components outside themselves in order for them to feel beautiful. And oftentimes I would make excuses. I would say, oh, because it's convenient, you know, if I wear the weave and if I do, you know, the most, then I don't have to worry about my hair, you know, all these different things. I also remember my brother, okay. I remember one time I was talking to him and I asked him, I said, because I just listened to a video and in that video, it was a cop who pretty much she was working at in a hospital in a morgue with the coroner. And I remember she said, no, the was it the coroner? Well, the person who look at the body, honey. Okay. But I remember she said that the guy who was looking at this African American woman, he was looking at the skull, right? The scalp and stuff. And this cop who was of color, she said, why do her scalp look like that? Like, why do, her head look like that? And one of the things the person who do the autopsy said, because that stuff that you guys tend to put in your head, that relaxer. And I remember that time I had heard that cop say that what made her go natural was because she seen a lady who was African American that looked just like her. Her scalp was eaten away because of the relaxer, the perms that, we tend to put in our hair. But I remember giving up so many excuses because I felt like if I went natural, I wasn't beautiful. And I remember one day I had called my brother and I was on the phone with him, and he's Muslim, okay? And I remember I asked him, I said, do it mean if I can't wear my natural hair, if I got to put relaxers and weaving stuff in my hair, do that means that I don't love myself? And he paused for a minute, and what he said was like, well, right? And basically he was going to say, well, technically. And it's so funny how even though we know something may not be good for us, but oftentimes we still do it because we feel like, or we sell ourselves this story, right? This story that we've been programmed to believe. And I remember when I was going natural, when I just decided, I said, watching that video with the cop, I said, you know what, I'm going to go natural. And at that time, I still was working, doing security and stuff like that. But I made a decision, I'm going to just go natural. And I remember it was this salon that I was going to, that I used to go to. And when I first went to the salon, I was putting a creamy crack in my hair. And the lady who was doing my hair, she was natural. And I remember I was like, oh my goodness, your hair looks so gorgeous. Like I really liked her hair. And she was like, oh girl, being natural is the best thing, talking to me and all this other stuff, right? Well, then later on, I decided, I said, you know what, enough is enough. I'm going natural. And I remember I called this beautician who was doing my hair. And I said, today's the day I'm going natural. And I remember this beautician, she said, when I told her I was going natural, right? It was almost as if she was like a little upset. And I was like, all right, I'm going natural, girl. What could I get? And she was like, well, you can't get too much of anything. Only thing you could get is a wash and go, like a roller set or something. And I felt so discouraged. So discouraged that when I went to the salon, I started putting the creamy crack back in my hair. Right? But then after that, after the way, the beautician, the way she was talking and I'm not going to say made me feel, right? But the way she was talking, I said, I'll never go back to her ever again. And so moving forward, okay, sometimes source will do certain things in order for you to meet your true self, okay? And sometimes you may not understand why you're going through certain things that you are going through. You may not even understand it. But perhaps you may have said a time or two, I just want to learn how to love myself. I just want to learn how to accept myself, right? And from me getting fired, okay, from me getting fired at this job that I was working on, to me not working, right, working for someone else, clocking in for somebody else, all that time, it allowed me to start to get to know myself. It allowed me to start embracing my natural hair. Okay. So to the person that's out there, I want you to know that you are worthy, you are deserving, and each and every day, look at yourself and affirm yourself. I want you to start meditating, okay? Breathing. I want you to start practicing self-talk. And I know affirmations, but I want you to, throughout the day, practice self-talk in a way where as though you uplifting yourself. I want you to start taking yourself out. All the things that you wanted someone else to do, I want you to start doing those things for yourself. The reason being is because if you're doing those things for yourself, you're not expecting someone else to do those things. And oftentimes we may get our feelings hurt because we have so many standards and we want somebody to do all these different things that oftentimes we're not willing to do for ourselves. If you like roses, go buy yourself roses. If you want someone to love you, my love, you have to start learning how to love yourself. And with that being said, I love you guys. Make sure you guys comment, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.